Vegas takes Sharp and Shapiro. It's just, it's really weird because, I'm doing my show and I get this weird stare through the glass window. And it's Ken Thompson wearing this UNLV jersey, and he's looking like Chucky. You know the movie? You remember that movie, Chucky?
It's a muscle.
Yeah.
It's a muscle
He's wearing
shirt.
this,
John Gruden.
It's a
That's
muscle
John
shirt.
Gruden.
He's wearing these.
That's John Gruden.
He looks like he just came out of the penitentiary with his tattoos and his jersey.
And he needs a haircut.
And he's giving me this weird stare and look like he's going to pile drive me in the ring. Like he looks like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like where's his 2x4? I don't know. But anyway,
he needs a haircut too.
You have been asking for it during this show, Brian. You have been asking for it. Okay.
I have. No, we love Ken. He's coming up next. Stay tuned for him coming up at 8 o'clock. He does a great show. So, speaking of golf, right? We have the golf guru Dennis Silver's in studio. Ron Futrell from Channel 8. JD is getting into golf a little bit. I like that. I'm getting him on the golf course.
Yeah.
He's getting better. He's improving.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, though, guys. I've been playing golf since I was maybe 10 years old. The golf, I don't watch golf unless it's a major, for the most part. I'll watch a little bit of the PGA Championship if it's interesting, right? I'll watch a little bit of the British Open if it's interesting on Sunday afternoon. But Thursday through Sunday, there's only two tournaments that I watch, and you could probably name them. It is the Masters. That is my number one.
I've heard of
Augusta
that.
National. And it's the U.S. Open. And I love watching the U.S. Open because they make these courses really difficult. This is Pebble Beach where they're playing this year.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about this golf course.
Well, Pebble is obviously beautiful in Northern California. It's along the sea line, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is either the sixth U.S. Open that they're holding here. They're getting ready in a couple of years to host the women's U.S. Open at Pebble as well.
Will there be equal pay in that one? Or no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's to be decided. But anyway, absolutely a beautiful golf course. It's not a long golf course for these guys. It plays just under, I think it's about 7,060 yards, narrow fairways.
That's not long for a U.S. Open, right?
Not long at all.
Yeah.
Narrow fairways, narrow greens. Purportedly, the rough is going to be very juicy where you just can't gouge it out and get to the green. So, obviously, there's going to be a premium on driving the ball.
So I look at some of these guys that drive the ball straight but not necessarily long, and I look at a guy like a Patrick Cantley, and this is a guy that I said after he won the tournament here a few years ago, I said, this is a guy, he came off an injury, and I said it's only a matter of time before he wins a major. I believe Patrick Cantley is my pick to win this thing, and I could be wrong. I look at Brooks Koepka. I know he didn't play very well last week, but certainly Koepka has to be one of the favorites, and Dustin Johnson as well. But let's talk about the big name, right? Tiger Woods. Do you think, the way Tiger Woods has been playing lately, that he should be a 10-1, one of the favorites to win this thing? What do you think?
No. The short answer, no. No, I don't.
Okay.
Why? I think that's way too generous.
Yeah, I think the odds are based on
too.
perception.
Yeah,
I think people just think he's back to himself, and he's definitely not back to himself.
Right.
Yeah, he's not a 10-1.
You
Adam Scott, I'd put through. Why does Adam Scott get to leave the? Now I know the new rule. Explain the new rule to me, Dennis. You can leave the pin in while you putt because Adam Scott has been one of the guys doing that.
Totally.
Now you leaving the pin in, it hasn't seemed to have helped him.
Yeah.
Former UNLV guy, but. What's the theory behind that? Why is he about the only one doing it?
Well, it comes down to Ron. It comes down just to personal preference. To me, when I see these guys putting on tour with the pin in, it looks weird to me.
Looks weird.
You know what I mean? Right.
Well, the rule is while you're on the green. It used to be while you're on the green, you have to remove the pin, or it's a 2-stroke penalty if you hit the pin. And now it is you can go ahead and leave in or out, whatever you want to do.
Their thinking behind it, Ron, was that supposedly it was going to speed up the game.
Oh,
But it doesn't because Brian will like the pin in. I don't want the pin in. JD will say, I want the pin back in. It doesn't speed up the game at all.
It doesn't speed up the game, and I don't think it gives you an advantage at all. I think if you're downhill and you're hoping to hit the pin to stop the ball, it does.
That's the only way.
But that's the only time it really
right.
gives you an advantage. I feel like if I have a short putt, I don't want the pin in. And the reason why I don't, because I've seen situations where the ball will hit the pin and it won't go in.
You're cutting a hole in half.
Yeah, exactly.
Why leave it in? You're cutting a hole in half.
Why does Adam Scott leave it in?
Because
Do you know
look,
the answer
Adam
to that?
Scott is a weird guy. He's unconventional. He's got that weird putting.
Because he's comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway, in regards back to Tiger Woods, do you give him a chance to win?
Everybody's got a chance. But I don't because Tiger.
I don't have a chance, no.
No.
Tournament after tournament after tournament, with the exception of the players.
Yeah.
Which I think was an aberration. Tiger kind of does a mini explosion. He self-implodes in the fourth round. Always that double bogey comes up, that three putt comes up.
He certainly had many explosions in Las Vegas. That's for sure.
He did. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that.
No,
joke
keep
in there.
going. Let's go with more euphemisms. Let's go. I'm ready for the sexual puns.
I would not bet Tiger.
Keep it up.
So you don't think Tiger's a good bet, Ron? What do you think?
Oh no, I wouldn't bet Tiger. No, I do like Adam Scott. I do.
Adam Scott's been playing really well.
Nobody's
lately.
talking
He
about
has been playing very well
in every tournament.
Why is nobody talking about Dustin Johnson though? I mean, this guy's unbelievable.
Well, Dustin is solid as can be. The last 10 years, he's been, I don't know what stats, but he's been one of the best players on the tour. I'd like to see Ricky Fowler win one. Let's go there.
Ricky Fowler is never going to win a major.
He's never going to win a major?
No.
Okay.
I could see a guy like a Matt Kuchar, because he's deadly accurate on his drives and he's pretty good on his irons as well. I could see him being a contender in this.
Matt Kuchar?
I could.
How much do you think he tips his caddy if he wins?
Hopefully,
couple of bucks.
Hopefully 16 or $20.
Couple of bucks.
I'm terrible.
What a scumbag.
Dennis,
I'm sorry.
Dennis, give me a guy that's 50 to 1 plus you think has a shot.
I've got he's not 50 to 1, but I got a feeling about, and I've been thinking about him for a week or so, JD. Jason Day.
Mm-hmm.
I've got two other long shots. I got Sneds. I got Snedeker, 55 to 1. And I like Tommy Fleetwood, too.
I like Tommy Fleetwood. Fleetwood's a really good player.
Here's a guy I like on the tour, and I like watching him play. Maybe it's just, I love his tall. I love his tallness. I love his look. Tony Finau.
I love Tony Finau.
Is Tony going to get at some point, is he going to win a major here soon?
I think Tony's going to win a major. Absolutely.
Okay.
He's got the shots.
Why don't we?
Guy out of Utah.
Why don't we take a few calls?
He definitely has the tools.
Why don't we take a few calls?
Yeah.
Let's take a few calls on this at 257-5396. Talking a little U.S. Open golf. Who's your pick? 702-257-5396. Let's go to Fernando. Fernando. Oh, we lost Fernando. I apologize. Fernando, call back. But, I look at a guy like a Webb Simpson who is pretty solid from tee to green.
Yes, he is.
If you ask me who I think is going to take it, I'm going. My number one pick is Patrick Cantley because he's playing so well.
He's putting
well. And he hits the ball so solid.
And those odds are great. At 16 to 1, those odds are outstanding.
They could be better, but you could have gotten him probably at 30 to 1 if he didn't win a few weeks ago. But my long shot is Webb Simpson at 50 to 1.
And you're not alone. There are a number of people that I know that are betting Webb.
He's very good from tee to green. He's a solid player. Yeah. He's not going to kill the ball 350 yards, but he's going to keep it in the fairway. Yeah. And if he gets his putter going and he gets solid with the putter, I think he's got a good chance on Sunday afternoon.
So Dennis, Phil Mickelson is 30 to 1. That's the lowest I've seen him in the last probably 10 or 12 matches.
He just dropped down to 30 to 1 because he was way up there a few days ago.
Here's what I hope about Phil Mickelson. I hope he has another meltdown, and I hope while the ball is, do you remember this? The ball's moving. He hits the ball like a hockey puck.
I love that shot. Golf hates left-handed people. I don't want to say it, but the Bubba Watson, other than the Masters, which when Mike Reed won there, and then started this onslaught of left-handed players winning at the Masters. But golf hates left-handed people, and I feel persecuted. I feel segregated. I feel abused. What other words can I use as a left-handed person?
Oppressed. You're very oppressed.
That golf hates me, especially that course.
Did you ever think that maybe it's just you don't have the ability?
No, it's because I'm left-handed.
Is that
because
the
I'm
other
left-handed? No, I blame it on that, and I can't help that. I was born that way.
I don't know if this is going to be a factor. I suspect not, though. But the weather's not going to be all that great. It's going to be in the upper 50s there, and low 60s.
So Tiger does,
not that that's
here's
freezing,
a tip. Here's a tip,
but that's,
guys.
That's not golf weather.
Here's a tip, okay? If you want to take a golf tip, here's one. Tiger does not play well in cold, bad conditions,
especially in the rain.
Bet against Tiger Woods. Bet against Tiger Woods in a matchup. I'm probably going to do that.
And I'm with you.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
And international golfers have really poor conditions all the time.
They're used to it.
They're very used to it.
They're used to it. It's
McIlroy.
just like
Let's go Rory McIlroy. Let's take Northern Ireland, man. Let's go
a lot
there.
of these,
10 to 1 I don't hate. I kind of like Molinari at 40 to 1 too.
Nah. I think he had a meltdown.
You think his head's just out of it?
Yeah. So here's the thing.
What are the odds though of Koepka winning 3 in a row.
Oh, that's crazy.
Come on.
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
But you can't really look at it that way because he's already won the two. So so you go, okay, if it's happened
golf,
before, it can happen.
handicapping in golf, you can make a lot of money if you know what you're doing. For example, back in the day, a lot of these guys from Texas, guy like a Tom Kite, who was a legendary Hall of Fame golfer, right?
Yeah.
He was so good playing in the wind. A lot of these guys from Texas.
Trevino.
Lee Trevino, another one.
Kite in the wind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
But when you think of these guys that live in Texas that grew up playing a lot of golf in windy conditions, they play really well at a golf course like Pebble Beach. It's right near the water. The winds are going to pick up, and that's why a lot of these guys play well in the British Open.
Right.
You know that type of golf. When there are certain players, when I look at matchups, I say, how have they played in? I look at number one, how have they played on the golf course? What's their history? Number two, how have they been playing the last 3 weeks? And the third thing I look at is what's the weather going to be like?
Right.
And are these guys? Do these guys play right? How do they play in these different conditions? I think if you do that, you could be very successful.
Brian, you're absolutely right, because look at Ben Hogan.
Yeah,
great wind player.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Byron Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Played good in the wind. Texas boys.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge factor. And again, Tiger Woods has a history of not play, especially with his issues with his body. He does not play well in cold, nasty conditions. And there are some guys that thrive in that welcome it. But Tiger is certainly. Who would you say is the best player in the worst weather conditions in PGA Tour history? Who would you say?
I've got to say, right off the top of my head, without really doing a deep dive, Tom Watson.
Yeah, Watson was really good, wasn't he? He won U.S. Opens and really, no, you're right. I think
won
that's
a bunch
probably,
of opens in miserable weather.
257-5396, the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. You're on with the Golf Guru, Paul. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind?
Paul,
Brian,
what's up?
You said call back anytime, so I called back today. Hey, I want to tell you, I'd rather talk golf with you than politics.
That's okay.
So would everybody else.
And that's fine,
I'm
Paul.
with you.
I'm going to tell you, I was at Shinnecock Hills.
Shinnecock, Corey Pavin. One of my favorite players of all time, Corey Pavin, won there.
I would tell you the first 8 holes should be called the Shinnecock Flats. The last 9 should be called Shinnecock Hills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Did you play from the back tees, Paul?
Do I? No, I play from the blues usually.
See, because if I played a course like that, I would want to tee it up exactly from where the pros tee it up, because I think that would be fun to do it that way. Yeah.
I tell you what, that course was so brutal. First of all, on Saturday, we were sitting at the 8th hole, and those guys had no chance of keeping the ball on the green.
Wow, isn't that something?
They were dropping these parachute shots in 2 feet from the hole on 8, and it would roll 60 feet.
Paul, I don't think the general public truly understands or appreciates how hard some of these golf courses are that these professionals play.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Brutal.
It really is something. You could play a course. I won't name them, but there's plenty of courses in Vegas where I could hit a 300-yard drive and I might have 50 yards to the green. Guess what? They don't have that on the PGA Tour. Certainly not in these majors. Yeah. You could hit at Shinnecock. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. You could hit a 300-yard drive and you might have 230 yards to the green.
Yeah, and with no hope to keep it
on.
on.
Right.
But I was sitting on the 13th when Phil Mickelson hit the rolling ball.
Oh, you saw that?
Oh, did you?
Live in person. And we were right in line. On the putt that he hit a second time, we were right in line. And that ball didn't miss the hole by but an inch, and it was going to go 40 feet.
Paul, let me ask you something, because I find this fascinating. So Paul is saying, our caller is saying that he was there at the green when Phil Mickelson live in person at the Open, right? When Phil Mickelson putted a ball, and instead of letting it keep rolling, he hit it like a hockey puck. So Paul, let me ask you this.
I love that Phil did that, by the way. I love that he did that. I absolutely love it. It was a protest to the BS pin placements and the greens there, and I love that.
But everybody's playing in the same conditions. Paul, I want to ask you this: when he did that,
let that ball roll, he had taken 3 more shots to get back up and
Paul, when he did that, since you were there, what was the reaction from the crowd? What were people saying?
Me and my son were sitting so dead on that I didn't see it stop, and he said to me right away, he said, that ball hadn't stopped yet. And I'm like, no, I think it stopped. He says, nope, it hadn't stopped yet.
See, but I thought it was disrespectful to the game, and here's why.
Blah, blah. Disrespectful to the game.
The course, I'll tell you a quick little story. When we came along, we were coming past the 16th green, and the USGA still had not picked a hole location, because they were out there, 5 guys putting, trying to figure out where the balls would stop and where they
I don't disagree with you, Paul. I think.
And I asked the guy, I said, hey, the last group's coming up like in 2 holes. They go, oh, they'll know where the pin's going to be. I'm like, yeah, but you guys don't know where the pin's going to be.
Listen, some of those USGA guys are buffoons. We all know that. But here's where I disagree with you a little bit, Paul. Here's the thing. While I agree with you that those conditions were unfair, everybody is playing on an equal playing field.
Right.
So what type of precedence is Phil Mickelson setting when he gets frustrated and says, well, you know what, if I kept the ball rolling, I probably would have taken 3 shots. So let me just play hockey. What kind of example is he setting for kids that are learning the game? Now, look, Phil apologized a couple days later when he calmed down, but I thought it was disgraceful on his part. We're not talking about a guy that's struggling to make the cut. We're talking about a Hall of Famer like Phil Mickelson, and that is why I disagree with you a little bit. Everyone's playing on an equal playing field, and it sets a very bad precedent.
When he did that, who does that remind you of? Who has done it multitudinous times? John Daly.
John Daly's done it.
That's John Daly. Yeah.
John Daly is great for golf, but for different reasons.
But Mickelson was doing it. Mickelson, I don't think when you say he had to calm down later, I think he was calm when he did it. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. He planned that as a protest, as a direct protest
to
pin placements and horrible greens. John Daly does it because he's got a cigarette in one hand, the beer in the other, and he's trying to put, it's hard to do.
My hero.
One last thing. I was there all weekend long. I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you YouTube on Sunday Phil Mickelson and Donald Duck hat, you will see that he had fun with it.
I will actually check that out. Paul, good to hear from you, my man. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for the second call today, Paul. That was great.
That is incredible that he was there and he saw that.
They saw that.
That is a time in, I don't want to make a huge deal out of it, but I think it was a big deal. That was a big time in golf history.
Yeah.
That was sure. That was wild. So do you disagree with what I said?
No, I don't in that sense. I was watching it. I was watching it live on TV, and so I remember stopping it. My wife thought I was nuts because I stopped the TV. I stopped my DVR, and I played it back and forth over again a few times. I taped it on my phone. I tweeted out the video. I said, "Way to go, Phil! Way to protest! Love this move."
But you agree with me, though. It was.
Oh yes, it was bush league.
Yeah.
But
it sets a bad precedent.
All those sort of things, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But he needed to make a dramatic protest, and he did, and we're talking about it, and it was out of protest.
How about
not out of anger?
How about after the round, just saying how ridiculous the USGA was and the way? I think that's the wrong way to protest. That's all. I think it's the wrong way.
But so many players are being interviewed now pre-major championships that are saying the USGA is a bunch of clowns. They don't know the right course
I've
setup.
been saying that for years. I've been saying that for years. It is enjoyable to watch these players struggle and shoot 83. It is kind of fun. I do enjoy watching them suffer a little bit, but at the same time, you also want to see some decent scores out there. And I think Pebble Beach will give them that opportunity. I think it is a scoreable golf course depending on the weather.
Depending on the weather, right.
So last question as far as golf goes here. I already gave you who I like, Patrick Cantlay. He's my number one guy. Quickly, each of you, let's start with Dennis. Dennis, who are you taking to win this thing?
Oh, that's so tough. That's so tough. You don't want the long shot, right?
No, give me your one guy that if someone puts a gun to your head, if Ron Futrell takes out a rifle right now, which he might.
Which I might if I had one.
He pointed at me, not you, trust me. But
I got to just go off of a gut feeling. I got to go with, I'm saying Rory.
All right. Well,
you're going. That's not Rory McIlroy.
The guy was like 80 under par last week. So
mine is 22.
Yeah, I'm going Rory
Ron,
McIlroy.
who do you got?
And Northern Ireland. I'm going.
Going with Rory, huh?
Oh, away with you, Patty. I'm going. I'm going with the man from Northern Ireland. So I am.
JD,
let's go with the North.
JD, who do you like?
He doesn't mean Padraig Harrington.
Cantley's my top guy too, odds wise. I think Jason Day's got a real shot as well. I'm probably going to spread out about $1,000 among probably 6 or 7 golfers.
I like Jason Day.
The reason why I don't like Jason Day is because he came off of that hand injury and he hasn't played very well since. He hasn't really been in contention. And I don't think the first tournament he decides to be in contention is the U.S. Open.
One guy we haven't talked about is Jordan Spieth.
Oh, by the way.
I don't like Spieth either.
He's 16-1.
I know, but he's got hit issues. He's coming back a little bit, but you're right. I don't think. Well, he's got the length. I disagree with you, Brian.
He's playing
got
better,
enough length,
but he hasn't shown me.
He's about 294 off the tee, and he hits it.
He's got enough length.
He played well in the last major.
Yeah,
he did. Now Brooks Koepka just decided to go crazy, and he just destroyed everybody. Spieth got some confidence back, but I still don't see the pep in his step where I could say, oh, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be
one
there.
bet I'm going to take a look at, if I can get Brooks Koepka to not make the top 10 or to make the top 10 on the no, plus 240, something like that, I'm going to take that. I don't think he's going to make the top 10. I think he's going to be.
Don't you?
I think with the course being so narrow,
I could see that.
I think he's going to have some issues.
I could see that.
I think a lot of these guys are going to have issues, JD, off the tee.
He didn't play very well last week, so I don't think that's a bad bet. I'm not going to bet against him, but I wouldn't be shocked if Koepka was way down.
And he's one of those perfect weather Florida guys as well.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Tony Finau, by the way. I'm rooting
he's
for
a good
him.
guy. I hope he does
see
do
him.
well.
I don't know if it's a year too early for him. Maybe next year or the year after.
He's going to do it. I'm telling you, he's too good of a player, and no respect again for our homies like Kevin. Now I think is 150. He can't handle cold weather either.
Well,
but.
And Adam Scott could definitely take this down.
Yeah,
I could see that. Absolutely.
Adam Scott could be in contention. Well, Dennis Silvers, thank you so much for joining us as usual. Your golf expertise. I would like to have you on Monday to talk about the U.S. Open. If you'd like to come back, Ron Futrell. We always love it when you come in on Tuesday. It's always great debate with Mr. Futrell, who is one of the greatest media guys. I mean that in this town. He's awesome.
Am I in trouble for anything I said tonight?
No, you're not. Okay. So tomorrow, guys, Michael Avenatti will be joining us. That's going to be a lot of fun. And Steve Sear, the super host himself. So tomorrow we got a big show lined up for you.
Him or his lawyer that's going to be
CPL's out of jail?
Have a good night, everybody. Ken Thompson coming up next. Ken Thompson coming up next.